She was a foreigner who upstaged the locals and stole Russia's throne like it was a leftover pastry. But once in power, nothing. Not an unromantic marriage, not the czarist patriarchy, not even Peter the hemorrhoidal colic III could stop her from launching an Enlightenment fan club, expanding an empire, and auditioning a revolving cast of lovers. History calls her Catherine the Great. Let's just say, it's not an overstatement. It all started in 1729 when a baby girl was born into the dwindling aristocracy of Prussia in the charmingly bleak military town of Stettin, Germany, now Poland. For those playing the Eastern European geography drinking game, her name was Sophie Friederike Auguste, and her childhood was rich in ambition and tutors, but shockingly poor in hugs. Her parents were a mismatched couple. Her mom, Johanna, was a social climber with the warmth of winter frost, and her dad, Prince Christian Augustus, was about as exciting as taxes. Little Sophie was destined to be married off like she was the final pawn in a dynastic game of Monopoly. Educated within an inch of her life, she studied everything from curtsying to Cartesian logic, French philosophy, and of course, how to look appealing to someone with a hereditary title and little else. She quickly learned that the most powerful weapon in a patriarchal society wasn't beauty, it was knowledge. And when her Lutheran tutor threatened her with a cane for thinking too much, she responded by basically calling him a moron. Quote, "I am convinced in my innermost soul that Herr Wagner was a blockhead." A sentiment anyone who's attended high school can relate to. Present company excluded? By age 10, Sophie was already paraded around German courts like a Renaissance Pokemon card. On one fateful visit, she met her second cousin, Karl Peter Ulrich, a kid with royal blood, emotional issues, and no charm at all. Peter, grandson of the infamous Peter the Great, was a fragile, traumatized boy who spent his time being mistreated by tutors and abusing violins and bonding with toy soldiers. Catherine later wrote that his best instructor was the court ballet master, because your pilet is a strong indicator of your prowess as a czar. Enter Empress Elizabeth of Russia. Childless and increasingly desperate for a Romanov heir, after plucking Peter from Prussia like a regrettable Tinder swipe, she turned her matchmaking laser gaze on Sophie. The result? A forced union between two people with no compatibility. At 14, Sophie was shipped to Russia, where she changed her name, her religion, her language, and immune system, thanks to barefoot language drills that gave her pneumonia, to become Catherine. Her devotion to the Orthodox faith was so intense, she refused a Lutheran priest while gravely ill, earning major points with her Russian in-laws. Sadly, her new husband was still Peter, emotionally weak, toy soldier obsessed, and as romantically stimulating as Leonid Brezhnev. Their wedding night? Let's just say Peter passed out, and this pattern continued for 9 years. To kill time, Catherine played card games with her ladies-in-waiting and got really good at horseback riding. Meanwhile, Peter scraped at his violin like a demon trying to cast a headache spell. The couple failed to produce an heir, which was a problem given the whole continuity of monarchy thing. Eventually, Catherine was told by her lady-in-waiting that exceptional circumstances justified cheating, provided she kept it in the family. So, she chose the dashing Sergei Saltykov, and in 1754, a child named Paul was born. Whether Peter was the father is, well, let's just say Peter himself once said, quote, "God knows where my wife gets her pregnancies." Well, Pete, it wasn't from you. Both children, Paul and a daughter born later, were snatched away by the Empress, presumably because raising them was a distraction from empire, or maybe because Catherine was getting a bit too competent. Catherine, isolated and debt-shamed, turned to philosophy. While Peter toyed with his military cosplay, she devoured Montesquieu and Voltaire like I devour peanut butter M&Ms. By 1762, Empress Elizabeth was dead, and Peter now became the Tsar. Within weeks, he undid Russia's military gains, forced officers into ridiculous Prussian uniforms, and managed to alienate nearly everyone, including his own wife. He publicly called her Duda, meaning idiot, and after a drunken tantrum, briefly threatened to arrest her. Catherine had a decision: perish with him be murdered by him, or yeet him off the throne. And option 3 definitely had appeal. On June 28, with help from disgruntled nobles, Catherine marched into St. Petersburg's Assumption Cathedral and was proclaimed Empress of Russia. The crowds cheered. Soldiers abandoned Peter and handed Catherine pieces of their Russian uniforms, ditching their Prussian cosplay. Peter fled and was safely detained. 8 days later, he was very conveniently dead. Cause of death? Hemorrhoidal colic. Actual cause of death? Likely strangled. Possibly poisoned. Almost definitely assassinated. But sure, let's go with the butt disease. And just like that, a Prussian nobody turned Russian monarch held absolute power over 20 million people. Her reign? 34 years of hold my vodka energy, driven by a mission to modernize Russia like a tech bro with delusions of grandeur, both actual follow-through. Catherine woke up at 5 a.m., governed by Enlightenment ideals, and started ticking off her imperial to-do list like a boss. She pardoned enemies, launched schools, and even supported smallpox inoculation, decades before anti-vaxxers could tweet about it. She established Russia's first orphanage and the first women's educational institute, the Smolny Institute, because apparently the future of the empire depended on educated noble maidens and well-fed orphans. And then there was the art. Catherine bought so much of it, she basically turned the Winter Palace into an icy Louvre. She named her galley the Hermitage, because calling it Catherine's really fancy hobby room didn't really pass the testing phase. She also flirted via mail with Voltaire and Diderot's library just so he could keep it. Basically the 18th century's equivalent of buying someone's house and letting them live there rent-free because you enjoy their tweets. In 1765, Catherine launched her boldest effort yet, rewriting Russia's legal system through her nakaz, or instruction. Influenced by Montesquieu, it argued for reason laws, no torture, no executions, and even toyed with limiting serfdom? But then reality happened. Her bureaucracy gutted the reform like a canceled Netflix series. Serfdom, which Catherine privately found intolerable, stayed in place. Nobles measured wealth in souls, or serfs, not land, and the economy ran on it. Reforming it would have been like removing oil from Texas. Theoretically noble, but revolution-inducing. Still, her efforts earned applause across Europe. France even banned the nakaz because it was too enlightened. At home, her ideas sparked Russia's first National Assembly. Delegates mostly ignored legal reform and instead debated what to call Catherine. The top contenders, the Great, and what I like, the all-wise mother of the fatherland. Unfortunately to me, though, she declined the latter and they went with the Great. Not everything went smoothly. A peasant rebellion led by Yemliov Pugachev, who claimed to be her very dead husband Peter III, erupted. It lasted 2 years and nearly upended everything. Catherine's military expansions were staggering. She annexed Crimea, the first time that Russia did that for those keeping count, carved up Poland, and expanded Russian territory by 200,000 square miles. She refused King George III on England's request to help crush the American Revolution, probably because she didn't want to get involved in any more inter-monarchy family drama. Her campaigns were often fronted by her favorites, an elite group of lovers/generals who were good in bed and on the battlefields. Gregory Orlov helped her with coup. Another favorite became a puppet king of Poland. And then there was Gregory Potemkin, possible secret husband, naval mastermind, and man behind the myth, the Potemkin villages, those fake settlements meant to impress her. Whether the villages were real or propaganda is debated, but the point remains, Potemkin knew how to play the game. By 1789, the French Revolution ruined the Enlightenment vibe. Catherine, once the poster girl for progressive reform, turned conservative. She censored liberal ideas, banned Voltaire's works, and became, ironically, everything she once challenged. When Diderot visited, she reminded him that theorizing on paper was easy. Governing humans, she said, was like writing, quotes, on human skin, far more sensitive and touchy. In her final years, she mothered her grandchildren, walked her dogs, and ruled until the very end. On November 5th, 1796, after some coffee and writing, she collapsed from a stroke and died the next day. Her son Paul, whom she'd never trusted with good reason, succeeded her. Only after death she was called the Great, a title she openly mocked in life. A letter to a friend she quipped, quote, "My name is Catherine II. I do not want to say of me as of Louis XV that anyone finds him badly named." And she added, "My height is neither great nor small." But her legacy? Enormous. She once joked that she came to Russia at 14 hoping to be loved by her husband, the Empress, and the people. Now that didn't exactly pan out, so she rewrote the script. She didn't just marry into power, she transformed it, redefined it, and outlived almost everyone who doubted her. So then, long live Catherine the Great, the Empress, Enlightenment fangirl, and the original Yas Queen.